Well, what do we have here? I tell you what we have here. I saw this clip of Halle Berry and her significant other on the Jenna show, and it reminded me so much of me. Check it out.
To do this together.
Well, it feels better now. I'm going to hold her hand. It feels better.
Oh, we've been doing this for 5 years together, so this is like the longest relationship I've ever had. And you said it's like the happiest you've ever been. When you find your person, you know, you find your person, and I now have found my person finally. So, I love that so
You're
much.
a veteran now.
I'm a veteran. Yeah. How did y'all meet?
Well, we met in COVID.
Yeah.
And through text.
Through text. His brother introduced us. He worked for Respin, my menopause company. He worked for Respin, and he said, my brother would be perfect for you. And I was like, You've heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that. And I don't like to be set up. And I said something like, well, I don't like to be set up. And he said, well, how has that worked out for you? Oh. And I said, okay, touche.
But my response to my brother was just as negative.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't, you know. And who asked you if you want to date Halle Berry?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't sound like a real question.
But I kind of love that you guys was like a slow burn. You know, you were talking via text, got to be friends first, it sounds like.
Yes.
And that was key. Before we ever got together in any physical kind of way, I had fallen madly in love just through talking and telling and sharing every single thing, all of our good, our bad, our dirty. We were completely honest because we were in COVID, and who cared? I thought if I never see him face to face, he's going to know all this stuff, and who cares?
It was kind of like a battle royale. We were trying to outdo each other with like negative statements like, yeah, you cheated on your last one, but did you do this?
Which made y'all feel sort of safe, right? You were like, aired all the dirty laundry. Yes. Well, you know what? I think what's amazing is one of the reasons you're here is your girl has created this incredible company, Respin, and we were joking at Mascot. What has it been like to watch Halle like lean into something that's helped so many women?
I'm actually really proud of her because we grew in this together. We learned about it together, and I think that gives you a special insight as her partner, understanding what she's going through, having kind of an empathetic, relationship. And so it's been,
And women need to have supportive partners, because this affects women, but it really affects men too. Because every man knows a woman, is married to a woman, loves a woman, has a daughter, has a mother, works with a woman. Like, men need to understand what's happening to women at this time of life. We spend half our life now in our menopausal years.
How many ways do I love that interview? I can't count them. I identify with it so much because, like Halle said, that's the longest relationship that she's ever been in. First and foremost, I wish you, the two of you, many, many, many more years together. And the reason that I love this so much, because she said that this is the longest relationship she's ever been in. And when we consider, her son, her daughter and son, both of their fathers, it kind of gives you some insight. But let's check it out. The relationship I've had with my husband, 6 years married, coming on 7 years together, is the longest relationship I've ever had. Yeah. And interestingly enough, before I met my husband, I think I shared with you that one of my friends was celebrating their 20th year wedding anniversary. And at that moment, it was before I met my husband, I sat back and was thinking about how many relationships that I had in that 20-year period, wanting to have what they had. And that, it depressed me. It depressed me. So again, I had to take a hard look at myself and the men I had chosen or that had allowed to choose me. But nevertheless, okay. So back to this. Like she said, this is the happiest I've ever been, the more joyful I've ever been. He sees me. We laugh a lot. He supports me. He's proud of me. And it's so interesting, like Halle Berry and Van Hunt were talking about, ours started out with conversations, hours of conversations, getting to know this person. And we are different in a lot of ways, but there's so many ways that we complement each other. and having to just be completely honest. I told him up front about the challenges I deal with as far as mental health and, other things. And he shared things with me, and we just like put it out there early on, because again, if it was going to be, it was going to be. And if not, nice knowing you, we could be friends or whatever. But he is my best friend. And the only, kind of like Halle Berry, the only thing I regret is that I didn't meet him sooner, so I could have that much more time to love and be with him. But things happen when they're supposed to happen, because quite frankly, if I would have met him sooner, I probably would have messed it up, to be honest. So it happened when they're supposed to happen. But I can't tell you how I love this interview. And it's interesting as we talk about menopause, there have been times even recently, my husband will come in and see me and I'm crying. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know." I don't know. And he's there for me, in going from cold to hot to cold, the mood swings, fortunately I have not been where I snap on him or anything like that, but I've been, easily frustrated with something, and he could tell when something's wrong with me. That's someone, you want somebody to know when you're not yourself. And I remember when I had a mental health episode, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I came home and I told him, I said, I don't know if my mental health condition will be too much for you. I said, because sometimes it's too much for me. And he said to me, "I may not understand what you go through completely, but I'm here for you, period. I'm not going anywhere." It took me to the age of 51 to find it, but I am, the happiest I've ever been, and the most joyful I've ever been, and where I can truly feel free to be myself, good, bad, or ugly. And he's seen every facet of that. And, and it's freeing, because I think a lot of times when we're dating, the representative stays up far too long. There's always something that we're holding back because we don't want to put someone off. But if you're talking about the long haul, they need to see it all. But here's the situation though, if you don't feel that you are comfortable enough with that person to show it all, when you spend time to get to know one another, not just off the bat, then you might want to rethink, should you be with them? That's an aside. But anyway, I love that interview. Tell me, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Take that with you.